Hey booktubers, Lisa here. So last night I finished my very first read of Dune. So I wanted to share first impressions and do a Dune book review. I'm gonna try to do this spoiler free. I know there's gonna come a point in the video where I just say, spoiler alert, I'm going to talk about things that I would consider to be a spoiler. So you can hang in there if you don't want spoilers for a while, and then I'll let you know that there's gonna be some spoilers coming. So shall we make a start? Wow, guys. Wow. This book was it really took me back. It really, I feel like I am trying to catch my breath in a way. And there's a lot going on. So I'm going to start with a very brief introduction to the book. And this would be information that I would consider so basic that it was either on the back of the book or it should already be known. So I would not consider this spoiler information. The main character, his name is Paul Atreides. He is the son of Duke Leto. In the beginning of the book, they live on a planet named Caladan. And Caladan is a nice planet. It has lots of access to water and it has a good and welcoming environment. However, the Duke and his family are not staying there very long. They are going to go to a new planet named Arrakis. And on Arrakis, it is a harsh desert wasteland. But you might think, well, who would want that planet? It is actually very useful because there is this spice or drug called melange. And if the person takes this melange, they can see somewhat into the future. So that is kind of like the very high overview of Dune. It is probably, I would say, not that long ago. I think it was last month actually. I read The Great Gatsby and I was saying, oh, it's so wonderful, it's so great. I don't think there's ever gonna be a book that is as intricate or perfectly woven together. Okay, that was a month ago and I had to eat my words. Dune is infinitely more complicated. There are so many more plots and subplots in this book than in The Great Gatsby. Great Gatsby was only 7 hours on the audiobook. This was 19. This was infinitely more complicated. So I had to eat my words on that one. And like I said, it was so perfectly woven together. And just thinking, as the author and how Frank must have put all this together. Because it was so complicated, you'd have to map out all the book pretty well in advance. This is one of 6 books. Then there are 3 books that are considered the prequel. So he would have had to have it mapped out pretty well in advance. And it was very carefully laid out. And I really liked you would have a scene and the author would tell you what the character was thinking. For me, I felt like I was actually there. Like the character was texting me what they were thinking. So they were saying something and then they would think something and you could hear what they were thinking. So for me, it was more like an immersive experience where you felt like you were part of the action. You were there. I really liked it. However, I will say when I read the first chapter, it was a completely new world, different completely different words, different things, different people, lots of different characters. I know that in speaking with other people seem to either really love Dune or they hate Dune with a passion. And I picked this book up and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm lost, I'm confused, I have no clue what's going on. I was really intimidated and thought I'm going to spend the next 600 pages lost, confused, and not understanding anything that's going on. But I stuck with it. I also put together a completely different movie, which I'll put the link above to that video, with 7 tips with what helped me read Dune, what helped me turn my frustration into just absolute love and joy for this book. Dune touches on a lot of really heavy topics. We have religion, philosophy, politics, sacrifice, leadership, and so much more. But I felt like this book, I mean, it was so, I cannot stress how well put together it was. I thought the pacing was perfect in terms of, there were maybe 1 or 2 times in the book I was kind of bored, but it moved along fast enough where I wasn't super bored, or there was a full chapter where I thought, oh, this was horrible, I hated this, I never want to read this again. So it moved along fairly quickly. I also liked how the author, he didn't go into like these excruciating details of landscapes or histories. It was just like, ripping your hair out of your head where you're so frustrated. It wasn't like that. I thought it moved along fairly well. The other thing, I was constantly surprised throughout this book. So now I am giving my spoiler warning that I told you that I would give. So if spoilers are a thing for you, watch or read the book, come back and watch the section of the video. But spoiler alert, 3, 2, 1. Oh my gosh, no character was safe from getting killed off. I was just so shocked over and over and over again, because I could feel, or I felt like the author was building up this character that you would like and really love, like Dr. Kynes. And we were just figuring out that he's this guy who was also this like legend, and he has all these thoughts. Then we're kind of introduced to his father. And I thought they were gonna pull Lord of the Rings on us, where they're like, oh, for sure this guy's gonna be saved, right? No, they let him die as far as I know. I mean, maybe he'll come back to life in the books 2 through 6. I don't know. But I was just like shocked. And then they, even kids died off. Kids were killers. I was just shocked. And then there were also Lady Fenring, how she said, oh, I need to have Fayed Rotha's child. And then we never heard about that. Where's this child? Where does this child come into play? And then the ending, it wasn't a clean ending. It was like, okay, well, what's gonna happen? What's the future? What's gonna happen? Is this wedding gonna go ahead? Is the emperor gonna stay around? Like, what's the ultimate conclusion? Is Arrakis gonna turn into this like tropical paradise and win? Are they just gonna take all the water on all the ships and put it on the planet and they've like magically reached their goal? I don't know. I was constantly surprised. It was such a page turner. This was one of those books where I told you I had a really rough start in chapter 1, but I did a few things. I turned it around and I loved it, especially by the end. But this is one of those books where, like, if I had 30 minutes on my lunch break, I was reading this. I loved it. I loved it so much. And I felt inspired by this book because they talk about the environment and all coming together for the common good, and that, hey, we're sacrificing, we will even die for this goal. And I haven't heard of anything that lately. I mean, a lot, lately in the news, especially in America, it's this, what do I want? What is best for me? We don't get this message of what's best for society, what's best for the world, what's best for the long-term future. It's really, what can we turn a buck today? How can we, do what we can today? And maybe I read this in the lens of, I just read Walden, and Thoreau was talking about when I go to the pond, I change, the pond doesn't change. And I read that and I thought, no, that's not true. The pond's probably filled up with plastic straws and trash now. That's what's changed in 175 years. So then when I read this book, especially after just reading Walden, I was like really pumped up about the environment and how we do all have to work together if we're gonna make any progress on those issues, because we just can't have a few people, you know, working hard, you know, to reduce our carbon footprint, and then everybody else just drives drives tanks around and is polluting up, you know, the whole world. We collectively will need to make an effort. So I felt so inspired by this book. I was just like, it was so unexpected because I honestly thought I was going to be dreading this book, and I loved it. I loved it. I also was blown away by the depiction of women in this book. This book was written in the mid-1960s. It's not a modern book. However, women were not these helpless creatures in this book. These were not women who were running in slow motion and having to hold somebody's hand when they were in danger. These were very fierce, powerful women, no nonsense. They were able to sacrifice, get the job done. You know, there were women who killed people in the book. They were considered equal with men. I was very pleasant that it wasn't just, oh, I'm waiting for a man to come around and rescue me, that they really, the author portrayed women in, more than just these meek, powerless people. I enjoyed that. I will say that I saw the Dune movie is coming out, and I am pumped. I'm pumped. I cannot wait. So if you don't already know, maybe you live under a rock. The Dune movie is scheduled to come out October the 1st of 2021. So if you are starting to read the book and you're totally lost, I recommend watching the trailer. It was also just so refreshing and nice to be able to look at the trailer and put some faces to the names that I read in the book. And I'm not a visual person, so it really helped visualize what some of the characters look like, what some of the sandworms would look like, or what at least the director's vision of the sandworms look like. There's been quite a few renditions of Dune throughout the years, so different people have had different takes. There is somebody on Twitter that has been putting together like the Dune images and things, so I really enjoyed that and really enjoyed the book Dune. Highly recommend it. So if you enjoy all things books, including brutally honest book reviews, subscribe to my channel. I'm Lisa of Troy. Peace.